What's happening, world? Alongside Ryan Griffin, I'm Matt Basson. Welcome to Throwing Stones Live. And we live for a reason. It's the NBA Draft Lottery. We're going to be finding out where our Detroit Pistons will be picking in the NBA Draft. Ryan, we got two huge games kicking off today and tomorrow, and we got to get to some of that information as well. But right now, we got to start before they actually hit the lottery. Pistons, Magic, Rockets all have the same chance of getting that number one pick. Oklahoma City Thunder right behind them. But all three of our teams have a 50+% chance of at least having a top four pick in what you and I both feel is a pretty talented bunch in the top four.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously there's been a lot of talk about this top three where they're just kind of doing like a round robin at number one, whether it's Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith, or Chet Holmgren. And then at that fourth spot, you're probably looking at Jaden Ivey, I think, for most people. So I really want a top three pick instead of a top four pick. That would be much, I think it would be much to the Pistons' benefit to be able to pair one of these guys, all 6'8" and above, next to Cade Cunningham, which is, an entirely different fit than trying to slot in, Jaden Ivey next to Cade Cunningham, where now you're looking at two guards instead of, a guard and a bigger, just a big man, whether it be Chet Holmgren, like a true center, or Paolo or Jabari, who can really play the four. But I think it's a pretty talented draft up top. I do like that the Pistons have, that high percentage chance to be in that top four. I think even if you're looking at top five, you're pretty well. They can't fall below 7, I believe. So you're going to get a good player regardless. But as with every draft, the cream is at the top. And then as it starts to go down a little bit, then you start to really kind of pick some more guys who really have flaws. And all these guys are going to have flaws. But, the higher end talent you get, the better your team is probably going to be. That's why last year we got Cade Cunningham at number one instead of, one of the Jalen Green or something at number 2.
I don't want to hear number 7. I don't want to hear no number 7. I'm tired of picking number 7, number 8, all that crap, and wasting a pick on someone who's the wrong person to take at that point. We have had that for years. We finally got lucky last year. We finally got the pick we deserved. And now we're in a chance to do it again. And I am so fearful that the NBA is going to find a way to stick it to us. And they're not going to let us have a top 3 pick. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about the NBA in Detroit. I don't know if it's still residual from the bad boy years or they're just mad that we stopped Kobe, Shaq, Malone, Gary Payton, the greatest foursome ever to not win an NBA championship. I don't know the reason, but it feels like the NBA is against the Pistons from ever doing anything well for a long time. And we got lucky last year. We got our man. Our man balled out. Should have been rookie of the year. And I want to pair him with someone that is going to make a difference for this team. I don't want to pair him with the number 7 pick in the NBA draft because I don't feel the number 7 pick, whoever he is going to be doing what we need him to do to get us to where we need to get to.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. And however far we fall, I'm going to talk myself into that player being the best player in the draft. And you're right. I think the NBA threw us a bone last year, right, and gave us the number 1 pick, which is very nice of them. And this year, I'm not even asking for number 1. I don't want to be greedy. I just want to fall into that top 3 so we can get one of those top 3 prospects and then let the rest of the chips fall, where they may. And then if we are, unfortunately bumped out of that top 3, then I guess we'll see what happens. Again, you can still get talent, but it seems like these top 3 guys are just a cut above everybody else. And I think that's really where you're aiming for. I think that's where most fans' heads are at, unless you're like so bullish on you just want this one guy, right? I know a lot of people have problems with Chet Holmgren, being that he's tall and gangly and all that stuff. So maybe they don't want to fall to 3 and, they're fearing that Paolo and Jabari go 1 and 2, whatever order, and then they're stuck with taking Chet at 3. But I think all of these guys have the potential to be really good, and I think all of them can fit the Pistons in different ways and can be really good on the Pistons. So again, I'm not being greedy. I don't need number 1 back-to-back years like the Cavaliers had. I just need a top 3 pick. That's all I need.
Oh no, I'm greedy. Give me number 1 3 out of 4 years. Please give me number 1 3 out of 4 years like the Cavaliers had. As far as the top 3 picks go, I'm quite honestly pretty okay with any one of those 3. I don't want to see us take Jaden Ivey. I don't want an undersized shooting guard on the Pistons. I feel like we've seen that before. I understand he balled out of Purdue, but at 6'4", playing the shooting guard position, it just doesn't do it for me. I understand there are the anomalies out there. There are the guys that can still get it done despite their, height problems at certain positions, but I don't want to deal with it. Chet Holmgren, human praying mantis. I mean, 7 foot, 195 pounds. He's got long. I just swear, it's just what he looks like to me. But we've seen what he can do in Gonzaga. We saw the defensive prowess. We saw the shot blocking ability. We saw the shot altering ability. We saw him step out and hit threes. We saw his post moves. We know that he can play basketball. I'm worried about him being only 195 pounds playing in the NBA. Same way I was worried about Kevin Durant being about 210 when he came out of Texas into the NBA. He's going to have to bulk up. There's an injury concern there as well. It just looks like he's too brittle because of how tall and how thin he is, and he's got to fill out. Jabari, I'm a big fan of. Paolo, I'm a big fan of. They have a build more that I'm used to seeing for the NBA. We definitely look. We're losing our. What are you calling Grant? Are you calling him a power forward? He's a power forward, but he was also like the offensive workhorse of the team. So it's just kind of an anomaly for that to be your 4 position. But we need a power forward. We need a shooting guard. I don't want it to be Jaden Ivey, but we do need a shooting guard. Those are the 2 positions, I think. And then, center, make of it what you will with Beef Stew. I'm a big fan of Beef Stew. I would love to see him continue to, try and work his way into being a stud in the NBA. But I understand you not wanting to put all your cards on the table, or keep them all close with a 6'8" center. I understand that completely. So going and getting a Chet Holmgren, it makes sense. It's just, I'm worried about him being brittle playing in the NBA with guys that are bigger, stronger, faster than the guys he was playing with in college.
Well, I mean, he'd just get stronger himself, right? If he stays at his frame right now, it's probably not going to work. But with all of these guys, you expect once they get to the NBA, they get stronger, they get more filled out, whatever the case is. And I like Isaiah Stewart as much as the next guy, but I don't think that's the center of the future for the Pistons at all. So if they did decide that Chet Holmgren was their best option, he's a much better NBA center than Isaiah Stewart, will end up being. I would stake just about everything I own on that. And again, Stewart's fine, but Holmgren can do some really, really special things when you talk about, the defense that he can bring. Obviously, the shooting ability that he has, and he can handle the ball a little bit. He's not somebody that you necessarily want him bringing it up the floor, and I think we saw that this year at Gonzaga, where he could handle it up the floor a little bit, but not necessarily against the better teams that they ended up facing. But that's something that he can get better at as well. He has some dribble moves. He's able to at least try and get around guys. And I think he's an underrated passer as well. So I love what I see from Chet. I love what I see from Paolo. Even if they decide to grab Paolo and run him as sort of like a small ball center, him and Isaiah Stewart could obviously play a little bit together. And Isaiah Stewart can play with any of these guys because he can slot in at the 4 or be a small ball 5, with Jabari or Paolo, that's small ball 5, and then with Chet as the 4. So I'm not super worried about any of that. But like I said, I just want a top 3 pick, and we're already discussing it like we have one, right? If they don't fall in the top 3, then we gotta talk about some different, more creative options. And it honestly might be funner to discuss, although it'd be worse to watch. I think, but it'd be kind of fun to be deep dive instead of just throwing a dart at one of the top 3. Honestly, but I would honestly go so far as to say that we need a top 3 pick to start what we kind of, or finish what we started with Cade Cunningham last year, where we had that number 1 pick, the best player in the draft, future superstar. We need to pair him with a Chet Holmgren or a Jabari Smith, as opposed to like a Johnny Davis or this is Brett Mathurin, whatever the Benedict, whatever the gentleman's name is.
Oh, from Arizona.
Yeah.
Benedict Mathurin. By the way, you're hanging out with us here. We're Ryan Griffin, Matt Basson from Throwing Stones. We're on Facebook Live. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Please chime in. It absolutely makes the show better. Don, absolutely for me, top 3 or bust. Johnny, like I said, I got no problem with Chet. If you got something that makes you really, really think Chet's the standout out of the 3, let us know. We'd love to talk about it. Ryan, we got time to talk about the picks. We don't even know what we're getting yet. So let's talk about the big news of what's going on along with these. The Eastern Conference, Western Conference Finals. The Dallas Mavericks absolutely. I mean, look, we talked about this throughout the weeks, and every game was the home team because every game it was only the home team's, other players that showed up. The road team, other players did not show up once in these Western Conference semifinal matchup until Game 7, and they showed up in a huge way, and Dallas put on the all-time, in my mind, look, I don't care that they only ended up winning by 33. They were up by 46 in Game 7 in Phoenix. You have got to be kidding me. That is the most embarrassing home performance I've ever seen. You are home for Game 7, and you not even close to getting it done. And Luka is outdoing everybody on the team. He had more rebounds than Ayton. He had more steals than Bridges, more assists than Chris Paul, more points than Devin Booker. Him too. Devin George too. Devin George didn't score a point.
Devin George and Devin Booker combined.
He ain't played. They played about the same amount.
Same
the
amount
Mavs,
in Game 7.
That defense showed up, and Phoenix crumbled. So we got the Mavs, and we got the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals tipping off Wednesday. And we got this is going to be fun, Ryan. These got some mirror images teams as far as the way they play offense. They both like to play defense. And good luck to the Mavs because you can't focus on one ball handler for like you could Phoenix for the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors are going to be attacking from all angles, and good luck Warriors, because if Max Kleber is going to continue to hit 45% from deep, Dallas better get a parade ready because he, like Spencer Dinwiddie, if he continues the hot streak that he started, like Dallas is going to be ready to go. So what do you think? Western Conference Finals. You think the former champs are going to continue to roll and get back to the NBA Finals? You think Dallas is going to make a statement for the first time since 2011?
I think the Warriors are going to beat the Mavs. I do think it's going to be closer than a lot of people seem to think, though, because the Mavs don't have anybody that can guard Luka Doncic. Like, Draymond's a great defender, one of the best ever, but he's too small to D up on Luka. And Wiggins, again, he's been great defensively, but he can't check Luka either. And it's no shade against them. I mean, you saw Luka before last series where he's destroying Michael Bridges. He was destroying Kawhi Leonard and Paul George 2 years now in the playoffs, or 2 years prior than that. So he's obviously an incredible player, and it's going to be a very Luka heavy diet for the Mavericks. It's pretty I don't know. It's pretty obvious, like what you're going to hear the game plan is going to be let Luka get his and then shut down everybody else, right? Don't let Max Kleber get those open shots. Don't let Spencer Dinwiddie do what he was able to do, especially in Game 7, Jalen Brunson, all those guys. So that's what you're going to hear the game plan is shut everybody else out, because Luka's going to average, probably 35, 8 and 8 or something around there. He's been an excellent playoff performer in his limited playoff, experience now. So I think that's what it's going to try to have to be for the Warriors, because if you're going in saying we're going to stop Luka Doncic, it's not going to work. They weren't able to stop Nikola Jokic, and I know they're different players. Jokic is obviously a lot bigger than Luka is, but if you can shut everybody else down, if Luka's scoring 38 points a game, it's probably not going to matter in the long run. It's when those other guys start to get hot that that everything kind of crumbles down for the other team, and I think that's just going to be the game plan, to shut down everybody else and see if one guy can beat you, because I think, as we've seen most of the time, that is not the case.
So Johnny brought up something, man. I'll get back to the actual series, but Johnny chiming in saying Atlanta's kicking themselves for Luka. Now, when we had talked about this trade in the past, we considered it kind of a wash, because Trae Young had been, starting to really ball out, last year's ascension, Eastern Conference Finals, all that. This year, not so much. Miami shut down Trae Young very, very well. They handled that man, kept him under 15 points a game. It was nowhere near the Trae Young we saw the year before or the Trae Young we saw during the regular season. Ryan, is Atlanta kicking themselves for trading Luka Doncic?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be. And you're right. You've seen people talk about it as a wash. You've seen people talk about that trade as like the most even trade in NBA history. Like Atlanta got fleeced, but Atlanta still made out, I guess, fairly well. Like you said, they made the conference finals last year. Same thing with the Suns and people saying, it was a mistake to pick Ayton number one. Like, I guess because Luka is such a great player, but the Suns also already made the finals with DeAndre Ayton being a big part of that. So each of those teams that, pass on Luka Doncic or one passed and one traded on him has enjoyed success directly correlated from their moves. But if you're going to look at like the next 5-year outlook or even 2 or 3 year outlook, they'd much rather have Luka Doncic on their team than the players that they got in DeAndre Ayton and Trae Young are great players. But, I think that will be a trade that Atlanta probably always regrets unless Trae is somehow able to be paired with another superstar and bring home some type of glory to Atlanta. But I don't necessarily foresee that happening, although anything's possible. But, yeah, I mean, you traded Luka. You see what he's doing. You saw what he's doing from really the minute he entered the NBA, and you knew. It was probably a trade that you ended up losing because it wasn't just Trae for Luka. It was Trae for Luka, and I think DeAndre Hunter is who they ended up picking with that other pick. Because they got another pick for him. It wasn't just a straight up swap.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to have plenty of time to really break down the Eastern and Western Conference Finals throughout the next couple of weeks. But before they actually start, I want to get a prediction from you. We talked about the West a little bit. So you got the Golden State Warriors. You think they're going to win how many games? You think it's going to be a quick one, gentleman's sweep, or you think it's going to distance?
I'll give them 6 games. I think the Warriors probably should end in 5, but they don't take care of the basketball. And I think they really don't have any answers for Luka, like at all. So I think there'll be a couple games where maybe Luka's just able to overcome that, and then his role players are able to hit the shots that they were hitting in games 6 and 7 against the Suns. But I'll say Warriors in 6.
All right. The lottery is on its way. We have pick 11 or 12. So, Ryan, for those ain't watching, who got the 14th pick?
The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Good for them.
Yep. Cavs are at 14.
13th?
They showed it. Hold on. I'd probably pull it up on the computer, maybe. So Cavs 14, Hornets 13, Thunder 12, 11 Knicks.
Thunder 12?
Yeah. Thunder 12. I think the Thunder might have like multiple picks up.
Do they have 2?
I think. Pelicans are at 8. Come on.
All right, that's the Lakers pick for New Orleans Pelicans at 8. So the Pelicans, who made the postseason, are getting a top 10 pick.
So the Blazers have 7.
Okay.
Come on. The Pacers have 6. Pistons top 5.
All right. We're looking all right. Keep going.
No. Pistons got 5.
Wow.
Man.
See? What did I say?
All right, everybody, I'll see you later.
Yeah. Jesus. So the Pistons just got absolutely hosed.
Man, that's garbage.
Wow. The Pistons, who were tied with the Houston Rockets and the Orlando Magic for the best chance to get the number 1 pick, and a 50+% chance to have a top 4 pick.
Yeah, it was a 50. I think
got
like
the number 5 pick.
Yeah.
And we are going to end up with Jaden Ivey, and I'm going to punch myself in the face.
Jaden Ivey, Shaden Sharp, Keegan Murray. It's probably the 3 guys you're looking at. And probably, honestly, either Sharp or Murray.
All right, trade Dwayne Casey and get us.
Whose fault this is?
Who needs it? Who's got the number 1 pick out of this? Was it Houston or was it Orlando?
They didn't do that yet. They're coming back after
They haven't
commercial
done that
break.
yet. Okay, so they're coming back for what, the top 3?
Top 4.
Top 4. So they ended. They're just going to let us stew on our 5th overall pick through a commercial break.
Pistons got 4.
Man, ESPN hating Detroit too.
Whose fault this is, and I hope Paul Roshan's in here. This is all Rip Hamilton's fault. I told you Rip was going to make us drop in this lottery. Just bring back Big Ben. Do what worked before.
They added his 2 numbers together.
2. Exactly.
3 plus 2, and they gave us 5.
Exactly. 32. Matched up and gave us 5.
I hate this. I hate
it too.
What is this? Why? Like,
Man.
There's no reason for it.
I'll tell you, it was much more exciting watching it last year.
Oh yeah, just a little bit.
Oh yeah, number 1 pick. I will
we
say
wasn't
though,
even tanking. Like, we were trying to win. We just have bad team. Like, Gabe was playing his mind off.
They did shut down Jeremy Grant, I guess, though. But I'll say it right now. I don't think this is a train I'm going to jump off of. I am all aboard the Shaden Sharp bandwagon. We didn't see him play in college, but none of these other guys at 5 intrigue me. I guess if Jaden Ivey falls down to 5, I don't expect him to. But all aboard Shaden Sharp. Give me the mystery over some of these knowns. You go watch some high school film on on Jaden Sharp, because that's all we have of him.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got no player that I can tell you I want in that number 5 spot. Like, I don't even want my own boy from Arizona, Benedict Mathurin. Look, man balled out a little bit, but I don't see it, and I don't see it being a fit for us. So I'm not even going to go after my own boy from U of A. Number 5. Huh. Thanks, NBA. Hey, this is the 85 draft all over again. They froze the Pistons envelope, Ryan, so they knew not to grab it. They just kept passing it along until
yeah, man. That sucks. It's and look, again, if you're gonna look on the bright side, it's a pretty top-heavy draft. You're out on the top 3. Yeah, I don't see there's any way any of these guys fall. Especially down to 5. Maybe there's a chance. Like how last year Suggs was supposed to be 4, and then he fell because the Raptors ended up taking Scotty Barnes, which worked out pretty well for him. And then Suggs was, Suggs fell down to 5. I don't see that happening in this year's draft. Like I said, I guess Aiden Ivey might fall, but I don't know. Shaden Sharp is my guy now that I'm locking in on, and you just got to make the best of it because it's not going to change. Staring at these draft positions isn't going to change the Pistons pick. Again, we weren't greedy. We weren't asking for number 1. We just wanted to be in the top 3. It didn't end up happening. So give me Shaden Sharp at number 5, and let's roll with Cade and the mystery man, who nobody's going to have any film on.
If this fool team takes Johnny Davis because he's a shooting guard, I'm going to scream.
I don't want anybody but Shaden Sharp at number 5.
Like, look, I don't know much about him. Didn't watch that much Kentucky this year. No, he's a shooting guard.
He didn't play at Kentucky this year.
Okay.
He committed to Kentucky, but he didn't.
Okay, well, there you go. So all the more reason why I didn't see him.
So the Rockets have the 3rd pick. The Magic get the first
2.
pick.
The Magic get the first
What'd the Magic do to earn the first pick? Nothing. They gave the first pick to Jonathan Isaac. Congratulations.
Man.
Get that bum Franz Wagner some help.
You're going to piss off all the Michigan fans we got here.
So it's
Magic, if you're just joining us,
Rockets are top 3.
Our Pistons just got hosed. I'm so disheartened.
Yeah.
That news
Magic,
is so
Thunder,
deflating.
Rockets, Kings.
The Queens?
Yeah.
What did Sacramento ever do?
Nothing. That's the team you should be mad at for passing up on Luka. But they get number 4. I mean, they didn't get a prize either, I guess.
I hope they get bum ass Jaden Ivey.
You know what? But that's actually kind of worst case scenario for the Pistons because they have De'Aaron Fox. Oh no, they don't have Halliburton anymore.
Nope, they traded Halliburton.
They have Davion Mitchell though. So do they want another? I don't know. Do they want another guard? That could if you're a Jaden Ivey fan, that could push Jaden Ivey down to the Pistons with De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell there in Sacramento. But the Kings might just trade De'Aaron Fox to somebody anyway. So who knows? But that does, I would say, if you're a Jaden Ivey fan, that increases the chances that Jaden Ivey falls to the Pistons for you. I'm still on the Shaedon Sharpe bandwagon.
All right, let's play the what if hopeful Detroit actually gets lucky at number 5 because I need something right now. So, Ryan, Orlando, do they have a center?
No. I mean, they have Franz who can play center, and they have Mo Bamba.
Yeah, Franz is gonna play power forward probably going forward. So they probably take Chet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Oklahoma City. I mean, let's see. They took. God, I'm drawing a blank on.
They have Josh Giddey. They have Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous. And they have Poku. Poku's the center, but they'd probably rather have Chet than Poku.
Who's their point guard?
Shai Gilgeous.
Josh Giddey, yeah. Josh Giddey or Shai, yeah. All right, so they're not going to take Jaden.
No.
Let's
the Rockets
see.
Are number 3.
Let's see. So Jabari's a power forward. Let's see. They got for power forwards. Yeah, Oklahoma City's going to take Jabari Smith.
You're going to take Jabari or Paolo, or I guess Chet if he's there too. I mean, all
right, and then it's Houston, right?
Yep, Houston's number 3.
Houston's 3rd.
Yeah, they got Jalen Green and Christian Wood.
I mean, Christian Wood balled out. Maybe they want to keep him.
They would send Christian Wood back to the G League if they could get Joe. I mean, they might just play him together, honestly. But both of them can knock down and hit a 3. Actually, would kind of be a fun little combo, and they have Alperen Sengun, who they drafted last year. So this first mock draft that's up on ESPN actually has Jaden Ivey out of the top 5. So it has Jabari number 1, Chet number 2, Paolo number 3, Shaedon Sharpe number 4, and then Keegan Murray number 5 to us. Us being the Pistons. If you're a fan of any other team watching this, thank you. But this will be very Pistons focused. Blame or
all right, so we getting locked in on Keegan Murray now?
Tayshaun wouldn't have done this to us. No, I want Shaedon Sharpe, but in this mock draft, he'd be going. So
yeah,
I do think those are the 3 guys that you're probably going to hear the fans. You know, if there was a 3-man round robin at number 1, whether it was Jabari, Paolo, or Chet, I think the 3-man round robin you're going to hear at number 5 is Shaedon, Keegan, or Jaden Ivey. And most Pistons fans will probably want Jaden Ivey because that's the guy that they saw the most. It's the guy that they heard the most about. You know, although Keegan Murray was also in the Big Ten, you know, Purdue was a little bit more of a draw than Iowa was.
What did you see from Jaden Ivey that makes you want him, though?
I mean, I think Jaden Ivey is pretty good. I don't think he's Ja Morant. Like, I think the lazy comparison for him is, but he's super athletic, and every time you watch him with Purdue, you know, it was pretty clear he's a guy who, you know, got that dog in him. If you're one of those guys, I do want to give, I guess, just a little bit of a background on Shaedon Sharpe though, because I think he's going to be a name a lot of Pistons fans hear, but they don't know anything about him because they didn't get to see him play. So this is on the ringer.com NBA drafts website. They do have Shaden Sharp as the 5th best prospect behind the obvious top 3, and then Jaden Ivey. So shades of Paul George, Tall Bradley Beal, and Jalen Green, who the Pistons obviously passed on last year. His best attributes are perimeter shooting, athleticism, on-ball defense, and ball handling. All things the Pistons could use. The Pistons could certainly use some athleticism, which I think would also be one of the draws for Jaden Ivey. Is the Pistons? They might be the least athletic team in the league, honestly. Like they don't have anybody who can really play above the rim. Like Stewart's athletic, but I think that's about it. And Bagley was able to finish some alley oops, which I think the Pistons desperately needed too. But he's a 6'6" wing, so shooting guard, small forward, whatever you want to put him as. Above the rim athlete who skies for dunks in space and blocks on the break. Long arms and lateral quickness. So he's a pretty good defender, good ball handler. And again, that's what we need. The minuses are obviously like the guys who sat out for the college football year or opted out. He didn't play basketball last year, so you didn't get to see him against any of the top competition. You only got to see him whether it's the AAU circuit or high school or whatever the case is. So I think he's obviously the biggest mystery of the draft. But he's somebody I'm willing to take a chance on because I think out of any of the guys who aren't the top 3, Shaden Sharp has the best chance to be the best player in the draft. And here says Rich, take Murray if Smith or Banchero don't fall. Banchero is certainly not going to fall, and neither is Jabari Smith. So
no, neither one of them are getting out of the top
Rich is on the Keegan Murray train, and I think that's going to be a fairly popular opinion in Detroit.
I mean, dude balled out last year. Hit over 60% from inside the arc, 40% from outside the arc. He was pretty fantastic in the Big Ten tournament. Man, I'm just not excited. That is so disheartening. I can't believe they did that to us. All right, well, real quick, because the Eastern Conference Finals are very close to tipping off, we got to talk a little bit about the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. I mean, 2 teams, 2 organizations that hate each other. How far back you want to go? Pat Riley hating Boston Celtics since he was a Laker and then coached the Lakers. There's always been that hatred there. Danny Ainge hating Pat Riley from the years he played against his Lakers. So the hatred's always been there. 08, 9 and 10, where the Celtics, took care of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade on different teams. People say that kind of forced them to come together and get their revenge later on. And then obviously 2 years ago in the bubble, Jason Tatum going for that dunk to seal game 1, and Bam Adebayo with one of the greatest, maybe the greatest block I've ever seen. I mean, that ball was in the hoop. That ball was in the hoop along with Bam's hand, and he pulled it out of that hoop. I mean, so these 2 teams, 2 of the best. They're kind of mirror images in a lot of ways. They play great defense. It should be really interesting. I think, lower scoring games. My question for more than anything is, yes, they both play great defense. How does Miami score enough to beat the Celtics if Tyler Hero is not on his game, Ryan?
Okay, well, that was a big caveat and curveball that he threw in at the end.
I mean, he hasn't been great in these playoffs. He showed up a little bit.
Yeah, he's somebody who usually plays well against Boston, though. So that's a benefit for them. And then for game 1, both Al Horford and Marcus Smart are not going to play for Boston. And I know it's only one game for as far as we know, but that can, obviously help flip a series or get Miami a game ahead and help them hold home court. So I actually think Miami's going to win the series in 7 games. And I think their defense is how they can, not score enough points, but stop the Celtics from scoring 110 points and putting it out of reach or something. I think the Heat are going to play very good defense, and all of these games are probably going to be fairly low scoring. Both of these teams held their opponents to under 98 points per game in the conference semifinals. So it should be a kind of a slug it out series. And one thing I hope, honestly, is just that the refs let them play. So then you'll see, I guess, some of that 90s basketball back. Maybe now where guys are, out here throwing fists at each other, but just where it's physical, just where you see, people kind of banging inside, and a lot of contact going uncalled. But I think it should be a really good series, and I, there will probably be a blowout because it could be a 7-game series, and it's very rare that you would ever get 7 close games. It's just not how the NBA works with so much variance, right? The Celtics could hit 23s one game, and the Heat hit 6. That's the story of the game right there. But I think it'll be a close series, and I do actually think the Heat are going to win it. I don't know. I just think it's I don't know. I don't know that it'll necessarily be an exciting series to watch, but it should be make for some pretty good, last 2 minutes of the games.
I don't know about exciting, but I think it's going to be enjoyable to watch these two teams play their defense and try and shut each other down. I just look at who each team has, and you take your pick who you think the better player is between, Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum. But the next best player after those two, in my mind, is Jaylen Brown. And I think the Celtics, outside of the top 2 stars, their top 2 stars, excuse me, I think they just have more firepower than Miami. And so I want to see what Miami does, how they can find ways to get other guys involved. It can't just be Jimmy. It can't just be Jimmy and Bam. Tyler Hero's got to do his thing. Oladipo's got to do his thing. No word for sure on Kyle Lowry and his hamstring, and if he's, even close to healthy enough to actually be a factor in this game. Like you said earlier, Marcus Smart missing game 1, Al Horford missing game 1. Those are 2 big components of Boston missing game 1. Yeah, as long as they don't miss more than game 1, then it's not that big of a problem because it's game 1 in Miami. Miami should win the first game at home. They've had a little bit more rest than Boston, not having to go 7 with the Sixers. But, I look back at that Sixers series. Miami hasn't played a team that plays great defense yet. Boston at least got a test by Milwaukee playing some defense. So I'm curious to see how Miami attacks when the Hawks don't play good defense. The Sixers were without Embiid, so they really didn't play that good of defense. And in the first game back, for him, Miami scored 79 points against Philadelphia, against not a very good Sixers team in my mind. So I think Boston ends up winning this series. I think it goes 7 as well. But I think they just have a little bit too much firepower compared to what the Heat have to offer for 2 teams that play very, very good defense.
I think maybe we're giving Milwaukee's defense a little bit more credit. I think they're a better defense, like in our minds, than they are actually on the basketball court, because it didn't seem like the Celtics had so many rough, possessions. There were a couple times, I think, especially in Game 6 or maybe Game 7, where they went like 2.5 minutes without scoring. But other than that, Tatum obviously was able to go crazy, and Tatum's been one of the best playoff performers so far this playoffs. But one of the guys who's been better than him has been Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler's taken his team farther than Jason Tatum has in the playoffs, obviously. But it's 2 teams with a lot of playoff experience. The Heat have some guys who have won a title, which I guess is something that Boston lacks. But Boston's been in plenty of series, and they've been in tons of playoff games against the Heat, obviously, where the Heat were able to beat them 2 years ago. And then, in this season, Boston's 2-1 against Miami, except the first game they won came in like the first 10 games of the season. And the second game they won, the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler, and both of those games were blowouts. And then in the most recent game that they played, the Heat were able to beat them with kind of everybody healthy. So honestly, I don't know. I think it will be a really close series. I think it's going to go 7 either way. And then, if there is a 7th game, it's obviously going to be in Miami. So I'll give the Heat the edge there. So I got Heat and Warriors in the finals.
When it wasn't looking good for these playoffs as far as the semifinals, I prayed on the air, just give us longer series. Well, we had 2 of them go to 6. We had 2 of them go to 7. So the basketball gods granted us that wish. I'm hoping for the same thing in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. And we'll see if the Boston Celtics can actually finish off what they're calling now their revenge tour. Because, look, they took on the Brooklyn Nets. They lost to Brooklyn last year in 5. They swept them this year. They took on the Milwaukee Bucks. They lost to Milwaukee in the playoffs a year ago. They got back at them this year. Now they're taking on Miami, who they lost 2 years ago to in the NBA playoffs, with a chance to get revenge as well. We'll see if the Boston Celtics revenge tour continues. I think we're in for some interesting series on both sides, with 4 teams that kind of mirror their opponent in a lot of ways. So this should be really interesting. I got Celtics and Warriors going to the NBA Finals, and the Warriors taking the whole thing. What you got?
Heat and Warriors, and I have the Warriors winning the championship as well. But I do want to give you some credit because when the Celtics were down 3-2, you said the Celtics are going to win that series in 7. So just a hat tip to you there.
That game 5, man, that collapse was awful, and they learned. Don't let Marcus Smart ruin the game for you.
Well, that's why they benched him for game 1. So it wouldn't be a problem.
All right. Well, we got now what, a month and a half to get ready for the NBA draft, or month, right? Less than little. It's like mid early June.
Yeah, it'll be over a month. It's because it's after the playoffs. It would have to be.
It's when the playoffs end, right?
NBA draft, yeah. So it's June. June 23rd.
23rd.
And if there's a game 7 of the finals, it will be June 19th.
All right, so we got a month and a week
Yep.
to figure out who our Pistons should take at number 5.
Shaedon Sharpe. You don't even need it. You don't even need a month and a week.
All right.
Send the pick in now.
You don't need a month and a week. Ryan already gave it to you. roll with Shaedon Sharpe.
So I go look up some high school film.
Yeah, right. All right, to Rick, thank you for chiming in, man. Or sorry, Rich. Thank you for chiming in. And yeah, man, Warriors, Boston in 6. We'll see. I got 7, but we'll see what happens.
No rain on my parade, Rich.
Well, that's yeah. We got a month and a week. Teams are going to change their mind, except for maybe the first team. We'll see.
Except for the
thank you to Rich. Thank you to Don. Thank you to Johnny. Thank you to AJ for chiming in and reaching out, checking in. We appreciate it. We're going to try and do this more as we get closer. Probably do this for the NBA draft as well, so that we can sit here and cry when they end up taking Jaden Ivey with the 5th pick. He's Ryan Griffin. I'm Matt Basson. We're hanging out here on Throwing Stones. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on Facebook Live. We'll see you guys again soon.
Yep. Make sure you guys are on our subscribe to our YouTube, which is Detroit Sports Nation, and then we have a Twitter for our show. Detroit Sports Nation has a Twitter. It's DET Sports Nation, and then we have a Twitter for our show as well, which is Stones DSN. And then make sure you guys are liking us on Facebook, which if you are watching this here, you probably already are. But like and subscribe to all of our content, and then you get more shout outs. That's how that works.